What's up guys, Sunil here. So today I'm being real with you ladies and gentlemen. When I started moto vlogging, I did make some mistakes and I did learn from those mistakes ladies and gentlemen. Again, life is about making mistakes ladies and gentlemen. Learn from them and keep on updating yourself from time to time. So what mistake did I do? Well, here are the 5 mistakes that I did when I started my moto vlogging journey ladies and gentlemen. That said, let's hit the intro, shall we?
Grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race.
So, if you're just starting out on your motorcycle vlogging journey, or if you're a professional, ladies and gentlemen, here are the 5 mistakes that you should avoid when you are starting your motorcycle vlogging, ladies and gentlemen. So, obviously, I've seen my previous video on the motor vlogging setup, on how you should do it, on how, what, and everything that I did on my motorcycle video, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not yet seen that video, ladies and gentlemen, links are down in the description below, and also I leave it on the top card right now. So the first mistake that everybody does when they're starting off on their motorcycling journey, ladies and gentlemen, motor vlogging journey, ladies and gentlemen, the setup or the right gear, ladies and gentlemen, however you want to take it. The setup or the right gear, what do I mean by that? That doesn't mean that you need to have all the fancy schmancy cameras, the high-end audio equipment like the DJI Mic Mini that I'm recording on right now, or as well as the DJI Action 5 Pro, or even the GoPro Hero 9. Yes, I'm using 2 cameras right now, but you might have seen why I'm using this camera in the last video, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't mean that you need to have the top-end cameras, the top-end audio equipment on the planet to start out your motorcycle journey, ladies and gentlemen, motorcycle vlogging journey, ladies and gentlemen, because everybody has a financial issues. Some can afford all of these setups, but others can't. So here's my humble request, ladies and gentlemen, to all of the people that are watching this video. Start with what you have, but the setup that you need to do is very important than the gear that you have. Obviously, gear is also important in the sense, but the setup of that equipment and the use of that equipment that you have is much more important, ladies and gentlemen, than all the gear that you have. Because whatever high-end gear you have, like the cameras, the audios, or whatever, if you're not yet, if you're not able to set up the correct setups on your helmets, then whatever you bought is going to be going to waste, ladies and gentlemen. Stupid calls. But as I mentioned on the last video, ladies and gentlemen, on how you should set up your beautiful cameras on your helmets, ladies and gentlemen, because in today's world, helmets are getting more fancier, more rounder, more edges, more aerodynamic, ladies and gentlemen. And this is what I was telling you about how to set up the right gear, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, you got your cameras, you got your professional audios right over here, but here's the issue: you do not know how to set up your cameras properly, right? Something like this one. This is the first ever helmet that I had. This is the HJC A2, and this is a race as well as a street-driven motorcycle helmet. And this helmet has a lot of curves on this side. And usually, when you see a lot of motovlogging setups, usually they are up on the top or up on the side over here. But here's the best POV footage that you can get out of these motorcycle vlogging setup is going to be fitting it at the center, ladies and gentlemen, right over here. Hope you can see it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put a dynamic zoom so you can see it. So this is the part where you should fit your helmet, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, both of my helmets, this is the HJC as well as this is the AXA AX1. This is a new helmet that I'm having right now, ladies and gentlemen, and this is also fitted in the center. So always make sure when you're fitting your helmet, ladies and gentlemen, obviously when you're riding and when you're buying your new camera, all these stuffs they will give it for you for free, ladies and gentlemen. You need to find out the perfect center place. Keep your helmet like this proper in the center and then fix it, ladies and gentlemen. Once you fix it, that's gonna be staying there. You cannot take it again and again and keep on placing it, because it's gonna ruin the paintwork of this, as well as there's gonna be leaving scratches on the helmet, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, this is my first ever setup, so this is what I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen. This is the what noob version, and this is the pro version to see, ladies and gentlemen, because as I told you before, with a lot of curves on the helmet, it's little bit hard to fit all of these accessories onto it, ladies and gentlemen, because whatever accessories they are giving you with the helmet, like this, the J mount or whatever this is, ladies and gentlemen, they're all flat on one side, ladies and gentlemen. The fitting part is perfectly straight at an angle, and that's little bit hard to fit it, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, if I do keep this right over here, it tends to move a lot. So that's why what I did on the first noob version is I actually used a lot of M-Seal as well as JB weld to make the gaps disappear and make this strong as I can, ladies and gentlemen. This can hold this helmet on its own, ladies and gentlemen. That's how much strong this is. And that also reminds you, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have a perfect placement of the base mount, you're gonna get a lot of vibrations on the top, ladies and gentlemen, because you're gonna be riding like this, and there's gonna be a lot of head movements too, because that head movements can be reduced on the camera, but this movement cannot be reduced. However, you try to put it on your software and edit it, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you have the right mount for it. Obviously, as today's generation goes, the helmet's getting fancier and prettier. People who supply these kinds of normal mounts with the cameras and that is free, you're not going to be getting the smooth flat mount, ladies and gentlemen. So here's what I did. This is the pro version, ladies and gentlemen, and you can see there's a mount that is placed right over here. So there's a mount that is placed right over here that is completely flat and completely fit with this portion of the curve, ladies and gentlemen. This is also curved, and this is from a company called, I forgot it. This is from a company called Moto India, ladies and gentlemen. This is an Indian made product, and it is for the ground, for these types of helmets with a curve at the front, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to check out that, links are down in the description below. So always make sure to have this round mounts so that it will be easy for you. Just give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put this in silent. Too many stupid people are calling me. So that it is easy for you to mount, and also it is flat with the helmet, and it's easy for you to record and reduce the vibrations, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the pro version. As you can see right now, ladies and gentlemen, there's no space at the bottom, there's no gaps on the side, and this fits perfectly, and it's strong, and it also reduces the vibrations, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the pro setup right over here. Now on to the second thing that you should know before starting your motor vlogging, ladies and gentlemen, the audio setup on this. Audio setup, as I told you before on the previous video, I do have a wired setup right over here with a mic inbuilt on this, and this is going to be the wireless setup because I do have a DJI mic mini. But if you're doing any of the setups on this, ladies and gentlemen, remember to tweak your settings to the best of your abilities, ladies and gentlemen. Do a couple of free test drives here and there, and make sure the audio is perfect. To understand the audio a little bit more better, let's go on a ride with this, and I'll explain to you a little bit more on how you can set up your audio perfectly. So let's hit the road, shall we? Welcome to the Moto vlog, ladies and gentlemen. So, as I was telling you about the audio setup, am I recording right now? Yeah, I'm recording right now. So, the audio setup, ladies and gentlemen, it's so simple, so easy, but it takes a little bit of time to fine tune it, ladies and gentlemen, because as I told you before on the previous vlog, the mono vlogging setup is a little hard to do, that too when you're riding these kind of obnoxious loud motorcycles like the Yamaha RX100 that I'm riding right now, or even the Ducati Monster that I have. That is one of the most highest obnoxiously loud sounding motorcycles that I own personally, ladies and gentlemen. So you need to find the sweet spot between capturing the audio of the motorcycle, because that is obviously the main thing. The people love the sound of the motorcycles, ladies and gentlemen. Just give 1 second. I'll show you the sound of this beautiful beast rolling into light. At now I'm at 60 kph at 4500 rpm, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not doing over the speed limit. I'm following the speed limit right over here. This is the area that doesn't have a speed limit, so that's why I'm confidently doing a little bit speed over here, ladies and gentlemen. But if you're driving, please do not overspeed, or please do not violate any of the rules of the government, ladies and gentlemen. So let me give you a sound test right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, you might have heard the sound. It is not too obnoxiously loud for the viewer to see, as well as it is not too, high pitched like a squeaky noise that if you are using a headphones to watch this video on, you're not gonna burst your eardrums out, right? So that's how you should fine tune your audio, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, these are all in the pro mode settings right now, ladies and gentlemen, and this is not at all in stock mode, ladies and gentlemen, because I do got two setups that I usually keep on this camera, ladies and gentlemen. It has a memory function that allows you to store two memory functions or more than two memory functions for your video setups, ladies and gentlemen. So one is the normal video mode that I have. Let me turn around, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not area to vlog, because there's a lot of military areas as well as police stops and traffic, ladies and gentlemen. I want to vlog freely. So anyway, as I was telling, there are 7 or 8 custom settings that you can keep on this camera that I'm recording right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is on the DJI Zero Action 5 Pro, and this is what I've learned of couple of years of motor vlogging, ladies and gentlemen, because this I have two setups custom, ladies and gentlemen. One, I do got it from a motorcycle. Obviously this is the full pro mode setup that I have for the motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen, because this this has the, as you can see right now, this has the ND filter on it, as well as the exposures all down to about -2 or -3, depends on the settings out there, and the color correction as well as it is on normal 10-bit color mode, and the audio is also changed to the perfect sweet tuned audio, ladies and gentlemen, because as you can hear from my voice, I'm not high pitching or I'm not squeaking a lot on, and if you do see the scale up on the front, the decibel scale on the front, you might have noticed that it is not at all peaking, ladies and gentlemen. It's right in the sweet spot between the yellow as well as on the red, ladies and gentlemen. That is the sweet spot that you need when you're vlogging, ladies and gentlemen, because again, as I told you before, on the obnoxious setup of audios too, ladies and gentlemen, my audio as well as the motorcycle audio should be visible and should be on the equal range, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously I'm gonna be going to do even more some fine tuning. This is straight out of the camera what it is gonna look like, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me 1 second. And obviously, as I told you in the previous video, make sure to you close your helmet visor as well as your wind deflectors on the front, ladies and gentlemen. That allows for a much sweeter audio, ladies and gentlemen. And if you do want to tune it even much more to a sweeter tune, as well as if you do want to add some custom bass to it, also you can do it on your whatever editing software you have, ladies and gentlemen. DaVinci Resolve is the platform that I use, and DaVinci has much of the things that you need if you do want to add a little bit of bass, or if you do want to add a little bit of noise corrections, compressions, anything. If you want to do that, you can do it, ladies and gentlemen. And here's the best part that I wanted to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going into pro mode, people will be scared of going into pro mode, ladies and gentlemen, because people don't know what exposure is, people don't know what color correction is, people don't know what decibel scale is, people don't know what decibel values to keep. There are so many things that you need to know about the pro settings, and that's what makes people to be little bit frightened about switching into the pro mode, ladies and gentlemen. But let me give you a simple explanation on if you're frightened to use the pro mode, ladies and gentlemen. Just 1 second, am I correct? Yes. pro mode, yeah, the first time when you use it, it's gonna be a little tough on you for sure, ladies and gentlemen. You might not know the correct, correct exposure values to set. You might not know how to set up your ND filter. You might not know how to get the perfect audio transmissions out of your DJI mic mini or any mics, wired or wireless, that you're using, ladies and gentlemen. And again, he's the best. Here's the other fucked up part about motorcycle vlogging, ladies and gentlemen. If you are in a car, you can see the cameras, you can see how much audio tunes you have, but on a motorcycle, when you're vlogging, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot see shit what is happening. You just press the record and hope everything that is in tune records properly, ladies and gentlemen. And only when you get back home and you connect it to a system or a phone or whatever you were using to edit, then only you can find out whether this the setup that you have done is perfect or not. That's the only issue with motorcycle vlogging, ladies and gentlemen. But here again, I do say, ladies and gentlemen, people do make mistakes, ladies and gentlemen, and please do not be afraid to make that such mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. Every single mistake that you take is a beautiful mistake for sure. And the main thing that you need to know is make sure you learn from your mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. Keep on making mistakes. If you do keep on making a lot of mistakes, you learn from them. And that's the beauty of making a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, the motovlogging that I'm doing now is also not perfect, not up to the 100% professional scale audios before. I mean, because I'm not even in the top professional level of audio recording and video recording on a motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen, motorcycle helmet. Because if you do see a lot of other motorcycle vloggers out there, like the best vloggers out there, like Sriman Gotaru, Cherry Vlogs, or even the top athletes like Yami Noob, Chase on Two Wheels, or any of the other motorcycle vloggers out there, you might have seen them. The audio is so crisp to the point that your ears start bleeding, right? That is how much perfect the audio as well as the video too, ladies and gentlemen. And again, that is all done both on editing as well as with a lot of audio equipment on their hand, ladies and gentlemen. Again, as I told you before, people have different financial issues, ladies and gentlemen, and each can afford what is available to them, and that's what makes it motovlogging a much simpler thing, ladies and gentlemen. Do with what you can, ladies and gentlemen. Do not ever see the other people's motovlogging and think that your motovlogging is different. Always make sure the video, audio, or anything doesn't matter until you have a good story behind it, ladies and gentlemen. So always make sure that you have a good story to back up what you did on the audio and video side, ladies and gentlemen. And in general, take it as simple as it, ladies and gentlemen. Whether it be color grading, which is the next point that I wanted to talk to you about, but I'm going to mix it with this. Whether it's going to be color grading for the video or whether it's going to be the correct audio scales, ladies and gentlemen. Try it as best as you can, ladies and gentlemen, and leave it as is, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are able to do a lot of corrections, or if you're good at color grading and editing, ladies and gentlemen, obviously you can make anything sound a little bit cooler, as well as you can make anything look brighter too, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me 1 second, let me make a U-turn. 1 second. But here's the best part, ladies and gentlemen. If you are into the world of motorcycles and motorcycle vlogging, ladies and gentlemen, keep vlogging. Keep vlogging, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget about any of the tech stuff that goes behind it, ladies and gentlemen. Keep doing it, one video after another, one video after another, one video after another. Keep on correcting whatever you did wrong, ladies and gentlemen. And at the end of the day, at some point in time, you're gonna be getting the perfect audio as well as video setup, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you're not gonna get 100%, ladies and gentlemen. In the world of 2025, right now that we are living in, nothing is perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing in this damn world is perfect. Everything in there is gonna be some errors, ladies and gentlemen. So keep that in mind and start vlogging, ladies and gentlemen. So that's about the color grading as well as the audio, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, the color grading that you're seeing from the camera that I'm doing right now is gonna be, I'll show you my setup, to my editing setup, how this footage actually looks, ladies and gentlemen. Because right now you're seeing all the beautiful colors, the white car that is going in front of the Scorpio N line, but this is from the camera that you can see, this is all in black and white, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm trying something new. Obviously, as I told you before, usually I do not do anything about the color grading. I keep it in normal, automatic, and I leave it as it, ladies and gentlemen. But I do want to add a little bit of beautiful colors to it, ladies and gentlemen. So the camera that is recording right now is recording at 4K 24 frames per second, obviously, for the smooth. உனக்கு கடிக்க போகுதுடா அது ஒரு நாளைக்கு உனக்கு கடிச்சு வச்சாதான் தான் தெரியும் டே people are stupid, man. So, as I was telling you before, the video that is coming out is gonna be black and white, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm recording in 4K at 24 frames per second at 16:9 crop ratio. But I'm using the color bit at D-Log 10-bit colors, ladies and gentlemen. So that allows me to record at a higher, higher color frame rates, and that allows me to. There you go. That allows me to get a lot of beautiful colors from the outside, ladies and gentlemen, because the sun is shining so bright, and it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so since this has actually been too bright, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's been like England raining continuously, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot take the motorcycle out for a vlog, ladies and gentlemen. So today is a beautiful day with all the green scenery, beautiful skies out there, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll show you my editing setup on how this looks. I'll lay it up right now. This is how it looks actually, ladies and gentlemen. This is the black and white footage that you have, and this is how it is turned out to be that you're seeing right now. So the color grading and the audio setup, just keep on going, ladies and gentlemen. Just keep on doing what you can, and at the end of the day, you'll get into something that is, much more finer for your ears and for the people that are listening to your videos, ladies and gentlemen. That's the best part of it. Keep on motovlogging, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, this is the things that I wanted to tell you about. Obviously the setup, the gear, the audio, the color grading, ladies and gentlemen. But the fifth and the most final thing that I ever wanted to tell you about, the mistakes that I did when I started motovlogging, ladies and gentlemen, is called as something that stands as social anxiety disorder, ladies and gentlemen. What that means, anxiety disorder, this is something that most people would have, 90% of the people would have when you're starting vlogging on your cameras, ladies and gentlemen, because everybody is good at taking photos of other people. Everybody is good at taking videos of other people, whether it's going to be a still photo or a moving photo or a still video or a moving video. But here's the issue with that, ladies and gentlemen. Most people, when you're turning the camera towards them, that's when they feel shy, and that is what is called a social anxiety disorder, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody has this, even me too, ladies and gentlemen. When I first ever started to make these vlogs on 2017, the first vlog that I ever uploaded to the channel was on 2017. I'll leave a link to that video also down below. That is called as my China's Bluetooth speaker review, and that is the first video I ever did, and I didn't even show my face. I used my audio only, ladies and gentlemen, but you can feel from the audio how much downgrade it was. Again, I didn't have any of the audio setup, but that's beside the point. But I was so afraid to talk into the camera. I didn't know what to tell. I think so, I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen, I think so I took in about 16 to 18 shots before I thought of making this video. Thought of making that video and made it public to the YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, as I've grown towards, I've been doing this YouTube for about 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, 4 to 5 years right now, ladies and gentlemen. And I have grown a lot between the cameras and myself, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm still having the fear. I'm still having the issues of social anxieties, ladies and gentlemen. Why? From the teenage, I always had a stage fear, and that has affected me into the early teens, as well as that has also put me in a position where I'm also afraid of heights and so many other fears that come along with it, ladies and gentlemen. And as you're a teen, you get a lot of other stuff that go into the issues too, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why when you see all my videos on the channel, you might have seen me doing all my intros either in my car where I'm feeling a little bit safe, or either in my room which is also a little bit safe. And I do lock the door so that no one comes in, because if anyone comes in, I'm getting a little scared and I'm shutting down the camera for sure. So I do that always. And also when I'm riding like this and when I'm doing water vlogging like this, obviously right now I can be a little bit confident, and the speech that comes out of me, it's a little bit confident. As you can hear, I'm progressing a lot. But when I first started motor vlogging, ladies and gentlemen, I never used to talk, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be always one liner, one punches, and that's pretty much it. And I have grown and I have become accustomed to it on how to make motorcycle vlogging like this one, ladies and gentlemen, the audio as well as the video. Obviously, I know that people are going to be watching me from left, right, and center, and they're going to be judging me on basis of, I have a goddamn big helmet for this motorcycle, which is tiny, puny like a cycle, and I have something big attached to the front of it. I'm doing some stupid kind of hand movements, but people don't know the struggle that is going on behind the scenes of making this video, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what is called a social anxiety disorder, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, every single people on this goddamn planet is gonna be having some kind of afraidness, or you can say that people are afraid to do what they're thinking of doing, on front of the camera, ladies and gentlemen. So here's what I wanted to tell them, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's hard to do for the first time ever, holding the camera up to your face and telling what you're thinking, and making up things that you need to tell about a certain idea that you have, ladies and gentlemen. But even today, as I'm doing this video, ladies and gentlemen, I do not have a script. I don't do scripts for anything, ladies and gentlemen. I always say what is coming to my mind, and that's what I wanted to tell you guys too. Even if you're starting out vlogging, ladies and gentlemen, always make sure you don't have a script on hand, because if you have a script and if you don't follow that script according to the video that you've done, you're gonna be facing a lot of issues, ladies and gentlemen. So wait, let me tell you a little bit more clear on what. So let's get to this. So ladies and gentlemen, as I was telling you about the social anxiety disorder, just got home back after the motorcycle party. So here's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. When you're starting out, as I told you before, you might have a lot of problems facing the camera and talking to them in person, ladies and gentlemen. Even me, till today, that's why I always have my room set up. As I told you before, I always have my room set up. That is where I'm confident enough and I'm pretty good enough to talk to the camera and do what I think. So I always do not write any script for any of my videos. I do think of an idea, and I do think of how I can present it in a way that is entertaining as well as informative for you guys. And whatever comes up to me and whatever comes up in here when I'm on the camera, and that's what I speak to you, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, as you can see right now, I do not have any kind of transponders or any kind of things that go around that telling me what I should do and what I should not do, ladies and gentlemen. That's the beauty of making content on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. You do not have scripts. You don't need to act for the camera. You don't need to make yourself presentable, or even you don't need to make yourself good enough, or you don't need to have a language to be able to be captured by the audience of the people, ladies and gentlemen. That's how beautiful YouTube works, and that's why many creators on the YouTube platform are in the YouTube platform making content for the world to be a better place to live in, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what I wanted you guys to do too. Don't worry about the language, don't worry about the quality, don't worry about the audio, video. You need to make it good, you need to make it bad. No, ladies and gentlemen, here's the best part about it. Just keep making good content, informative content, and that's how you can reach greater heights, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, please do learn along the way on making a little bit more updated contents on the cameras, on the audio side, and that's the main part of today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, you might have known one of the greatest YouTubers on the platform is considered to be PewDiePie, and you might have seen all of his videos through his 10 years, 11 years in his YouTube experience, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't give a shit about what's going on behind the scenes. He just wants to make content for the people to see, people to laugh, and to people to learn and educate themselves about something, some topic, anything, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, to the people who are suffering from the social anxiety, keep on making content. Whenever you feel comfortable, start recording on your camera, and that's what keeps. If you keep on doing that on a continuous scale, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, at one point in time, you're going to be forgetting all of that, and you're going to be making so much more beautiful content and in a consistent way that is good for the audience too, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, I'm having a guilt on I'm not uploading on a consistent level, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm learning a lot and I want to make a beautiful content for you guys and something that is interesting and informative too, ladies and gentlemen. Not only beautiful side, but also something interesting and informative for you guys to see. I just don't want to keep you guys bored all the time, and that's why I thought of making this video today, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, these are the 5 mistakes that you should avoid when you're starting out on your motorcycle vlogging journey, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, strap on your helmets, hit the record, and start exploring new places and feel the freedom under your wing, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, if you're not yet part of the SV, ladies and gentlemen, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the like, turn on that bell notifications, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care and peace.